Hello, and you're very welcome along to another edition of the JMac Podcast. I'm John McMahon, and of course, the podcast is kindly brought to you by YourGoRich.com. Use my promo code JMac Podcast, get 15% off on their website. And tonight, I'm joined by Gaelic Games, Fan TV, host and creator Aaron Prendergast to run the rule of all the championship action and, of course, the talk of action. So, really looking forward to chatting to Aaron tonight. How are you, Aaron?
Yeah, good, keeping well, John. Good to be back on the channel and everything else. Back on the show. Yeah, some big games this weekend. Some big talking points. I suppose we've kind of the group stages. They've kind of been teased into us a little bit. You know, we've had one match day spread out over the last kind of 2 weekends, which has been good in some ways because we've been able to kind of see the games a bit more and kind of absorb them. Even though there's still some games we're not being able to see, which is bizarre. But yeah, no, absolutely good to be back on. I know you're in good spirits with the Cavan win and everything else. So yeah, no, looking forward to previewing the games, and obviously with the Dubs beating Galway the last time as well. So we both have wins on the board, which we probably wouldn't have expected maybe a couple of weeks back.
Yeah, we're both happy, Ben. Jesus, yeah, it's funny what a few results can do, and obviously a great win against Mayo. I suppose, Aaron, before we kind of crack into the action, we just like to send our thoughts to Kevin McStay. News is broken tonight that he has had to step away from the Mayo senior football team for the foreseeable future. Kevin had a bit of a health scare there last week, I think, during a training session. So we send our best wishes out to Kevin, and hopefully he has a speedy recovery, and I hope all is well for him. Obviously, we don't like to hear that sort of news, and obviously Kevin, a very well regarded GA man, and I suppose you'd really have to value every day, Aaron.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'd agree with you there as well. Look, Kevin McStay has received a lot of criticism this year, probably for how Mayo have played and everything else. But look, as we know, there's things that are way more important in football. Life is sacred, and it means far more than what happens on the pitch. So if Kevin feels the need to do that, and especially given how much he's given to Mayo football, managing Roscommon as well, the work he's put into down the years with RTE, like he's been a man that's always been on the go. So for him to have made the decision to step away, then it's serious, that way. So yeah, no, absolutely. We pass on everything. Hopefully all is okay, and hopefully we do get to see him return, whether it be with Mayo or another county or club or something of that nature further down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. Sending our best wishes to Kevin McStay and his family, and hopefully Kevin will be back on a GA pitch in the not so distant future. But hopefully he looks after himself and he's right as rain in a couple of weeks or even months' time. Well, we send our best wishes to Kevin. And I suppose, Aaron, we'll crack right into the action over the weekend on Saturday, the 24th of May. It was All Ireland Senior Football Championship action. It was Donegal against Tyrone in Ballybuffet. It was Donegal 20 points, Tyrone 2-17. Great game of football here, Aaron, has to be said. A serious win for Monaghan O'Rourke and Tyrone. He will be absolutely delighted in training this week, and obviously the work and preparation obviously that would have went into that game, and it was Tyrone's day. It really was Tyrone's day. It was a star-studded performance, and I think even Peter Hart's point at the end really symbolised where Tyrone were at in that game. It was a hell of a kick at the end, and Donegal will be disappointed after winning the Ulster final, and obviously 2 more games to save their bacon, obviously a game against ourselves and this weekend, and that'll not be easy either, but Tyrone will be delighted. A good win at the weekend, and that's probably really got them going in this All-Ireland series now. It's a great start.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's vintage Tyrone, really. Like, how many times down the years we've seen these type of performances where they rock up, away to one of the big contenders, one of the the All Ireland favourites, the Ulster champions, and turn them over. Like, it's vintage Tyrone, really. They kind of have slipped under the radar ever so quietly this year, maybe with the relegation from Division 1, albeit they'd 7 points on the board, so they were only 1 or 2 points actually getting into the league final. And their performance against Armagh, I thought, for large parts was very good. It was just Armagh had a very good burst towards the end of the game. But yeah, no, as you said, Tyrone were phenomenal in this game. Darren McCurry, some of the points he was kicking were out of this world. The Peter Hart point, Kieran McGeary as well was a real kind of flashback to his Footballer of the Year form in 2021. He was absolutely brilliant, and they dominated, and the quickness at which they attacked with, especially on the counter attack, was really, really impressive. And they weren't afraid as well when they got the goal chances. They weren't. You saw the ball worked into Shawnee O'Donnell. They weren't afraid to take risks, to take chances, and you have to do that when you're playing a team like Donegal. And they were phenomenal in doing that. And for Donegal, maybe just the yeah, like maybe percentage wise a little bit off it. Maybe with the Ulster final taking it out of them and everything else, but take nothing away for Tyrone. It was a serious win.
Yeah, they'll be delighted this weekend training, and obviously like a win like that really lifts all tides. And I suppose like Donegal will be disappointed, and like obviously the great win against Armagh. They did have 2 weeks after that game, so there definitely was time to prepare and get ready for the game. But I think Tyrone, especially in Ballybofey, it's a really difficult place to go, and Donegal can make that place as a fortress. So that's probably impressive in itself for Tyrone to get the job done over there. But the likes of Darren McCurry once again playing very well, Peter Hart, and then Mark Bradley as well. Like, I think we can't really rule Tyrone out at this juncture either, Aaron. Like, they could really be a hidden force in this game, in this championship. And I was talking to Tyrone supporter yesterday, like, and he was basically saying he'd like to see an Anglo-Cell Cup, win before they get back on the Sam Maguire merry-go-round. But I'll tell you what, Aaron, Tyrone could be a very big surprise package this year.
Absolutely, yeah, and they have it in their history as well. Like every time they have a new manager, they tend to go on and win an All Ireland. That happened with Fergal Logan and Brian Dooher. It happened with Mickey Hart as well, and there maybe are some similar trends to Tyrone so far this season to 2021. And once they can kind of get a run and build a bit of consistency, they're definitely a very, very hard team to stop. And that has always been the question with Tyrone. I think over the last couple of years, no one's doubted the ability of some of their players, and they've obviously had a huge amount of underage success as well. And you're seeing, Rory Canavan, McElhone, Peter Teague, these lads all kind of coming into the team, who are all making a big impact. So no one was doubting the ability that Tyrone had. It was just more so, can they put the consistency together? Can they get a big win as well? And that was a huge win, and it was fully deserved as well, especially when it came at a moment as well where, look, especially when Patrick McBurty kicks that 2-pointer. I think Donegal had gone from maybe being 4 or 5 down to all of a sudden like a point down or something like that. And you were thinking Donegal at home, Michael Murphy obviously, doing his thing as well. You're thinking, right, this is where Donegal will step it up here, like in the final kind of couple of minutes. But Tyrone managed it brilliantly, and they went down the other end, and it was no like keeping the ball, like when they won the ball back, they weren't just keeping it and passing it around, trying to take the sting out of it. Like they were going for Donegal's throw. Like even at the end with that late point from Peter Hart, like going for the throw, going for the 2-pointers, and putting the, standing on Donegal's neck when they're down. So, yeah, quality stuff there from a Tyrone perspective.
Yeah, like, and obviously they got the chat going into it, like, and how are Donegal going to be after the Ulster final? And would you say a bit of a hangover? Like, and I know obviously Paddy McBurty, Micheál Langan, and Michael Murphy had a great performance once again. Like, but there probably was a bit of underperformances, and Micheál Langan and Murphy did kind of have to carry a lot of the baggage maybe in the second half to try drag Donegal back into it, but it just at the end wasn't good enough. And like, I'm not kind of saying it, and obviously after Cavan beat Mayo, like, but I think going to Breffley Park, bit of a fortress this Sunday, like Donegal won't like that spin to Cavan either.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I think there was probably a bit of a drop off, and we've seen this with Donegal. Like they lost to Cork in the groups last year. Maybe it was a game they could afford to lose. It was a game where they could afford to take the breaks off a little bit. However, in saying that, with the way that this group has gone, with Cavan obviously beating Mayo, like it's wide open, and Donegal really do need to go out now and win their next game, which I think is against Cavan, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that'll be absolutely massive. But yeah, they only had 5 scores on the day. And as you said, like Micheál Langan was very impressive. Michael Murphy.
Yeah.
Like I think Micheál Langan was probably, like that was probably man of the match performance, really, if we're being honest. Like he was absolutely outrageous, like carrying Donegal in the game. But yeah, like nothing from Oisin Gallen.
No,
O'Donnell was very quiet.
And that's a big concern. That's a big concern.
Yeah, like they seem to be struggling, like, because it was like it's either Patrick McBurty starts, and then Oisin Gallen's on the bench, or it's Gallen starts and then McBurty's on the bench. I know they both are kind of in that kind of same position, a left corner forward, but I do wonder why McGuinness can't get them both in the team at the same time, because like Gallen hasn't been starting regularly, so like there probably is a lack of that sharpness or whatever it may be, and he's and both of these lads seem to be doing really well coming off the bench. Maybe you could understand that from McBurty. He's obviously had injuries and he maybe is getting on a bit. But I do wonder, like, is there going to be a plan at some stage to get both of them in the team at the same time? Because they are such deadly sharpshooters, and it could be the difference between winning or losing.
Yeah, because it's a funny one. Like, I was at the Ulster final, and I thought, let me see, get his name again. For Donegal, the corner forward, Oisín Gallen. I thought Oisín had a good Ulster final, but in fairness, like, Saturday night would have been an ideal opportunity for Gallen to step up and take on the Tyrone full back line and really go at them. And like, you definitely would have been. Jim McGuinness will be disappointed with, I suppose, as you rightly said, the output from the Donegal forward line over the weekend, and even Darrow Boyle, probably one of his quieter games. Even Kieran Thompson probably struggled as well. Like, Kieran Thompson only chipped in with 1 free, and like, I know obviously I kind of go on about Paddy McBurty a good bit, and can we see more from him? And don't get me wrong, he's on the scene the last 14 years, and that's remarkable service. But I think if Donegal want to win as Sam Maguire, and don't get me wrong, they are after winning an Ulster title, like, let's not, write their obituary just yet. But if they do want to go up the Hogan stand steps, I think, your McBurtys and your Gallans, and it just can't. And I know Michael Murphy's only back, but it can't be all on Murphy. Like, and it can't, like, it could be a Kerry situation with Clifford, but Murphy, he's not a spring chicken anymore. He's 35, 36 years of age. So, he needs the supporting cast around him.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I think, they didn't bring Michael Murphy back for him to, single-handedly carry them to an All-Ireland. Like, he's not going to be able to do that. They're going to need more from some of the other players. And usually they have got it from Darragh O'Boyle, from Conor O'Donnell, from these lads, but we just didn't quite see it in this game. As you said, Kieran Thompson as well was very quiet. He was obviously, had the game of his life against Armagh. Brian McHugh was a little bit quiet as well. Like, he only kicked a point. Like, usually you kind of see him kind of chipping forward with 2 or 3. So it was. Yeah, it was, Pater Morgan as well coming off. He kind of was very quiet as well. So, just a little bit off it from a Donegal perspective. It's not the complete end of the world. It's not a bad game to lose necessarily, because look, you won the Ulster title. You've got 2 more games. I think they do have the capabilities of beating Cavan. I think they do have the capabilities of beating Mayo as well. We'll obviously see what happens in relation to the group, whether that leads them first or second. But they're by no means gone, and maybe this result would actually help them in terms of seeing where things went wrong as well. And I think another point worth mentioning, they are missing Sean Patton big time as well.
And I think he was a huge loss on Saturday.
Yeah, like, Mulroney really struggled. With like, he just can't get the same distance on them.
And that's the thing as well, Aaron. Like, and we talk with Steve Clucks with Dublin, and even Niall Morgan with Tyrone. Like, if Patton was, say, to get injured for the rest of the year, I think Donegal could really struggle.
Yeah, they could do, because it's not the same type of goalkeeper. And it's, I don't know if McGuinness's profile to have, whether Mulroney was just the backup, and he was always the man there, and he was probably never planned to be in this position. I'm sure there probably is another keeper out there who could do more of a kind of modern day goalkeeper type role that Patton often does. I don't know, but we'll have to wait and see. There was a rumor about sticking Murphy in goal. I don't know if we go back to that one now, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
Oh Lordy, Kev Kennedy, a penny for your thoughts. But like, you see, and this kind of reverts back to that point, and we've seen Dublin this year, Aaron, like, and you were obviously following Dublin closely, like, what they tried 3 or 4 goalies. Like, it does go to show you need a good number 16. You need a good sub goalie, and it just doesn't look like the top teams. Like, don't get me wrong, like, when do we see goalies get injured? But and I know Sean Patton has picked up an injury, obviously, like, against all odds, but, you do need a good lad to step in, and maybe Dublin didn't have that over the years. And, Tyrone, I don't even think Tyrone maybe have good backup there. Donegal don't look like good backup, even Armagh to a degree. So, like, the number 16 is getting very important, as we've seen over the weekend, Aaron.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably just with the quickness of games as well. It's probably a new thing, with the games coming thick and fast. Teams come, and obviously with goalkeepers playing a more kind of expansive role now, joining the attacks and everything else. Like, it's you're more likely to pull a muscle, or you're more likely to get an injury in contacts than you would be, when you're standing between the posts for an entire 70 minutes without much contact. So, it's definitely something for teams to look into. Like, I think Armagh had a good balance between Ethan Rafferty and Blaine Hughes down the years, to be fair. and two different type of goalkeepers as well, it must be said. But yeah, like Desi's tried out loads of different keepers throughout the year, and it probably, and look, maybe with Dublin it's a little bit different. Probably are kind of seeing right who's going to be the kind of Cluxton replacements, because you'd imagine at some stage he is gonna call it a day. Although I don't know at this rate, he might continue till he's 60. You wouldn't be surprised at this stage. But yeah, no, they absolutely did miss Patton. That there's no doubt about, and you've seen the influence that Morgan had as well. So yeah, it was a big difference there.
Yeah, huge. And obviously Tyrone, great win for them at the weekend, and they'll be full of confidence the next day against a tricky assignment of Mayo. So we will wait and see how that goes, especially with the news in recent hours that Kevin McStay has to step aside, but I see Stephen Rochford will replace Kevin McStay in the next couple of games, so that'll be great for Rochford, and obviously the experience Rochford has as well, so it's basically replacing like for like, you could basically say. And then the other action, Aaron, over the weekend, it was Armagh 221, Derry 217 in the box at Athletic Grounds. Very good win for Armagh. They'll be absolutely delighted with this. Could have been a banana skin, Aaron, like a bit of chat going into it. And Derry had a 6 to 7 week break. Armagh basically fresh from the Ulster final, you can nearly say, and obviously getting bet once again in Ulster final, but they'll be happy enough. Ryan played well. He's looking very sharp. He's looking even stronger than he did in the last couple of years. A great seeing back now, has to be said. But Derry gave him the full of it.
They did, yeah. It was an interesting game. Like Armagh were 13 points up at one stage in the second half, and we're almost too comfortable, I think, because they were so. They almost kind of switched off towards the end of the game, with Derry scoring 2 quick 4 goals from Conor Glass, Dan Higgins, Ethan Rafferty makes a couple of big saves as well to kind of keep the lead kind of intact. But yeah, it was a massive win for Armagh. They had to win this game because of Galway and Dublin being in this game. You play the Dubs next in Croke Park, then Galway in a neutral venue, and Galway will probably will need something from that game as well. So if they didn't win this, they were in trouble, in terms of maybe not even getting out of the group. So they have to win this. And to be fair, yeah, they stood up massively, as you said. Great to have Rian O'Neill back. Obviously the game wasn't shown anywhere, so I can only see the highlights. So it'd be interesting to see kind of where, like, he was named at centre back, which I found interesting. With number 6, he scored a point. I don't know if he actually played there. Armagh fans will have to let us know maybe in regards to that. But yeah, big result. Rory Grugan as well, from what I've seen, like some phenomenal points from him, and he's a real unsung hero, I think, in this Armagh side. Doesn't really get the credit he deserves. Like when you, like, obviously we look at Stephen Campbell, Turbot, Rian O'Neill, these lads. But Rory Grugan's been flying the flag for a long time, and he's so reliable in these games as well, just to get you 3-4 points and kind of just keep you ticking along.
Yeah. And look, that was a huge talking point over the week, Aaron. The fact this game was nowhere to be seen, and in fairness, like, I think it was Kieran Lynch and Johnny Mercer, like our fellow pundit, done a bit of commentary for Armagh TV, and it was audio only. But like, I was making the point to you and the lads that, like, how even Armagh TV didn't have video coverage of this game. It was crazy stuff, and you would have like 100,000 people listening to Armagh GA TV's audio, and can you just imagine the viewing figures if they had it live? And like, what was crazy, I think Stephen McDonald was doing a bit of halftime analysis, and it was on the video. Why couldn't we have it? Why couldn't we have the game? Crazy stuff. And you have your GA Plus, you have your everything going on these days. Like, I don't know who was calling these shots, Aaron.
Yeah, it's mental, really. Like, because you think, especially with the weekends being split, so we had 4 games last week, 4 games this week. 2 games live each, and I know you have the hurling on the Sundays as well, and obviously people kind of want to watch those games and everything else. But when Meath were playing Cork at 3 p.m, there was literally nothing else on at that time. And I don't see why GA Plus can't go down the same route as the League of Ireland. And I know it's been mentioned hundreds of times on my own show and maybe on this show, maybe at times as well. But like, the League of Ireland will show every game on their own TV. Like, if you want to watch Finn Harps versus Treaty United or something like that, you can watch that. Do you know what I mean? Like, they'll have it. There'll be and don't get me wrong, it's not, it's not elite service around. You're not going to get a huge amount of analysis. It's probably just a lad sitting in a cardboard box, just commentating the players. But that's it. We just want to see the games, even if we have to see it without commentary. I don't think anyone would really care. So
no.
Yeah, it's hugely disappointing not to see it. Like, I think they have to show the provincial winners, so I think that's why Loud Monaghan was on and Donegal Tyrone was on. So I think the provincial winners have to be shown on TV. But yeah, like they missed the trick big time with not having Armagh Derry on. And even Meath Cork as well, like, especially when there isn't a huge amount of else going on. It's just a massive own goal again from the GA, but I don't know whether it's rights issues or things like that. I don't really know, but hopefully in the next couple of years they can sort this out. Otherwise, we're just going to have this. We're going to keep having the same conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, it was a good game of football, and just not the start of the game was on at the weekend, and you just seen the kind of snippets of highlights. But no, it was really good. I think Derry can take a lot of heart from this game enough to spread the scores, and I think that's something that will, I suppose, be a concern for Kieran McGeeney and his backroom team, the concession of scores. And don't be wrong, obviously, you score that, we'll score more, essentially what was the tone of that game at the weekend. But Derry will be very happy with that performance. And like, I think obviously still down, and obviously Gareth McKinless, he's a huge loss to that Derry team, but I think it's a very good performance. No one will want to get, Derry the next year. I think it's Derry and Galway the next day, is it? I think if that's right, so that'll be a tough game. Derry stickler team, and Paddy Talley took the job on. Like, no one will want to still play them. They are an awkward team.
Yeah, like that was the thing. Like, 'cause I remember keeping an eye on Score BO when you were seeing Armagh 13 points up with about 10 minutes to go, and you were thinking, geez, Derry have just completely fallen off the wheels here. But then when they show a bit of fight, and Conor Glass had probably his best game of the year, scoring 1-3, brilliant goal. Dan Higgins coming off the bench getting a goal. Brendan Rodgers again, very impressive. Paul Cassidy looking kind of back to his best. So yeah, there definitely were positive signs for Derry. I think looking at this game, they're definitely not going to roll over. Like, having Galway at home is going to be big. Playing Dublin even in a neutral venue as well on the final day will suit them. They won't have to play Dublin and Croke Park, so that could be big as well. I think the problem though with Derry is they've had a lot of these games this year where they've come close, and they've drawn the lead back, and they've shown heart and fight, but they haven't won a game this year.
Yeah.
They haven't won a game this year, so that's been a little bit disappointing. But yeah, my camera is just completely folded here. Just when I don't know if that's the Derry County Board.
Just when you say that bit about that's just when you say that bit about the Derry County Board, the camera goes off. So yeah, Paddy Talley must be listening. But obviously a great win for Armagh. They would be absolutely delighted with that over the weekend. And then we'll move on to the other action that took place. It was Louth 4-8, Monaghan 123 in St. Connex's Park in Newbridge. Very good win for Monaghan. Obviously, a lot of people are kind of saying how much of a hangover, in football terms, and I suppose the couple of beverages for Louth after winning the first Leinster title in 68 years. A very good win for Monaghan. I think Monaghan are going to be a very dangerous team to get in this All-Ireland series as well, Aaron. I think, obviously, you're not talking about All-Ireland contenders, but, what says a quarterfinal, what says a semi-final, a very good win at the weekend. They'll be delighted with that.
Yeah, absolutely. They're definitely the definition of a dark horse, if I've ever seen one. And like probably the group has helped them out kind of massively, in the sense that they've been paired up with two Division 2 sides, and they've been paired up with two Division 3 sides now. When you look at Down, obviously getting relegated, and Clare, obviously a Division 3 team. So they've probably been a little bit fortunate in regards to that, but you can only beat what's in front of you. Monaghan have beaten the majority of these teams this year already, so you'd imagine that was their toughest game as well on paper. Away to Louth, albeit it was in Newbridge, but it was a scheduled away game. They'll obviously have a home game. They'll have a neutral venue as well. You'd imagine they'll be Clare or Down. You'd be very surprised if they don't, if they don't win them games. So absolutely, yeah. Like if they win the group as well, like they'll go into the quarterfinals, seeded as well. So you could be avoiding Kerry, you could be avoiding whoever else win the groups there as well. So absolutely, especially with the new rules as well, with Conor McCarthy and Rory Beggan, Stephen O'Hanlon, like they have some big players there that can step up and deliver. So yeah, absolutely, Monaghan are a serious dark horse.
Yeah, no team will want to get them guys, make no doubt about it. And then the last game of the weekend, Aaron, it was Meath against Cork. It was Meath 113, Cork 12 points in Park Talton. Very good win for Meath, obviously after the Leinster final getting bet. And look, they could have easily down tools in this particular game, and obviously disappointment. But look, they didn't. They really dug in. I think the players really fought for Robbie Brennan and really got a great win. Oh, it must have been a long journey home for Cork as well. And Christ, Aaron, Jacqueline Hyde, good performance against Kerry the last out,
Yeah.
and they go to bloody Navan and get bet by Meath. And don't get me wrong, Meath are doing quite well, but God, if you're a Cork supporter and sorry, Dan Goulding or Matthew Hurley, you have to be pulling your hair out.
Yeah, it's just the same old for Cork. Like we've seen this over the last couple of years. I mean, they put in a great performance against Kerry, but then lose to Meath. We saw last year they beat Donegal in the group stages, but then lost to Louth in a preliminary qualifier. So it's been happening throughout for Cork for the last couple of years, and they just can't seem to win these type of games. Like, you wouldn't be surprised if they go out and beat Roscommon or even put it up to Kerry, but it is these type of games that they seem to struggle in. And I think for me, they'll take a lot of confidence. Look, at home and Navan, tough conditions. You probably would have fancied them to get over the line, to be fair. But yeah, it was a massive win to kind of brush off the cobwebs of the defeat, obviously, to Louth. And yeah, I think when Jordan Morris got the goal, like, they kind of didn't really, they never really looked back after that. So yeah, big win for Meath, and puts them in a good position now as well. Like, they'll fancy their chances versus Roscommon, and you wouldn't expect them to beat Kerry, but they are playing Kerry in a neutral venue, so maybe they might be able to get something out of that. So yeah, positive signs for Meath, and a very young team as well. Let's not forget.
Yeah, no, I think it's very good kind of bounce back ability. You often hear that phrase from Eden. As I said at the start, they could have laid down, they didn't. They put in a big performance, and it was brilliant for them. So look, I think Robbie Brennan will be thrilled, and obviously the slack and bit of criticism you get after the Leinster final. And as you rightly said, they've a good young team. They've giants immense. Even you could see Jordan Morris back. Good to see him back. Obviously, he's playing the trip King's Court here in Cavan, and he's an exciting footballer, and obviously Costello and lots of good players. And that Meath journey, and I think Robbie Brennan, I'm presuming it's a project for him. And I think they will come good again next year for like a Leinster title. I think they will, they're definitely not gone away in that regard, but no, definitely a good win at the weekend. And I suppose it could have been a banana skin. It really could have went either way. And then it draws back that kind of conversation with Cork as well, Aaron. We're talking about, are they ever going to win a Munster title? Can they get back to like an All-Ireland quarter-final or semi-final? And like, just a result like that on Saturday really just has to frustrate Cork supporters, because I think they're just so far away from both competitions. And Jesus Christ, Aaron, even a league title. Like, I can't, like, could we even see Cork win a bloody league title in the not so distant future? I'm not even so sure.
Yeah, they just can't get any consistency under John Cleary. But to be fair, like, it's happened under previous management as well. Like, I mean, even think back to 2020, you beat Kerry, but then lose to Tipperary. You know what I mean? In a Munster final, like, it's just been, they can get no consistency. And even looking at the highlights of the game, I mean, Brian O'Driscoll had a phenomenal game versus Kerry. Didn't score in this game. Couldn't get his hands on the ball at all. Brian Hurley, I think, was injured maybe, or seems to kind of dropped off the boil there. So it's kind of hard to know. Like, you had Stephen Sherlock, who obviously stepped away last season, a good few players stepping away. So doesn't seem to be a huge amount of buy-in within Cork. And it's kind of one of them things, when they're playing Kerry, when they're playing a bigger team, the lads get up for it. And yeah, like, when they're playing teams around their same level, they seem to really struggle. And, a couple of years ago, even last year, you would have said, oh yeah, Cork will absolutely beat this Meath team. Whereas now it's, it's completely flipped. And Meath seem to have kicked on and grown even further. And Cork are definitely not progressing at the moment anyway.
Yeah, it's tough innings, like, in 15 years since that All-Ireland final appearance, and you could really say since that, Aaron, like, it's been 15 years of probably turbulence, not good results, a lot of overturning players, a lot of overturning managers. And look, we've had the Cork debate before, and obviously Dan and Matt will be very vocal about where Cork football's been at, but I think a result like that on Saturday will not help things at all, Aaron. I suppose we'll move on to this weekend's action in the Tottenham Cup round 3 on Saturday. You have Wicklow against Waterford in Wexford Park at 6 p.m. You have Offaly against Laois in Newbridge at 6 p.m. And you have Westmeath against Limerick in O'Moore Park at 2 p.m. All them Tottenham Cup games taking place on Saturday. So looking forward to that action. And then on Sunday in the Tottenham Cup round 3, you have Kildare against Sligo in Dr. Hyde Park at 2 p.m. You have Leitrim against Tipperary in Mullingar at 1:30. You have Carlow against Longford in O'Connor Park 1:45. And you have Fermanagh against Wexford in Croke Park at 1:45. And of course, game will be live on GA Plus, and that's part of a double header with the Dublin Armagh game. So 2 good games to look forward to this weekend. And then last game in the Tottenham Cup over the weekend, you have Antrim against London in Newry at 1:45. So all the Tottenham Cup games to look forward to this weekend. And then in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship, round 2 on Saturday, you have Tyrone against Mayo in Healy Park at 7 p.m. And of course, the game will be live on GA Plus. Really interesting game, this one, Aaron. Lots of talking points already going into it. Tyrone after a great win against Donegal. Cavan after a great win against Mayo. Kevin McStay has to step aside due to health reasons. In comes Stephen Rochford. This is going to be a good one.
Yeah, and it has a Mayo win written all over it, to be honest with you. Just because it's the most Mayo thing ever to have so many problems, to lose a manager, to have been written off by everyone, to have lost to Cavan, and then go to Tyrone, who are absolutely buzzing, bouncing, playing the football of their lives after beating Donegal. And saying that, though, like it is interesting. Like, Tyrone have struggled with consistency down the years, and it would feel like a massive step back if Tyrone didn't win this game, if they didn't kind of kick on. You feel like if they play anywhere near the levels that they played against Donegal, they should win this fairly comfortably, to be honest with you. Like, it will be interesting to see, like, if Mayo do have a bit of a different approach under Stephen Rochford. I do think Rochford, without question, when he was manager of Mayo, he was the best manager of Mayo within that kind of period. He was the one who got them the closest, and saying that, he definitely had the best Mayo team. He had a Mayo team that were miles better than this one. I don't think you can kind of switch that around so quickly. Look, when you look at Mayo as well, like they just haven't really evolved. So like they barely kick any 2-pointers. Like, Ryan O'Donoghue aside, they don't have many players who can step up. They're crying out for those kind of running, flying players that you had with Paddy Durkin and Lee Keegan and these lads down the years. Yeah, they just don't have those players anymore. Even Tommy Conroy from a few years back.
Where's he gone? Where's he? What's the story with him?
Yeah, I don't know. He had a big injury, and it's just never kind of been able to work his way back into the team. But like there is that part of me that so many times down the years has seen Mayo go and win these games. And I do have a very sneaky feeling that happens. But I think for Tyrone, if they play anywhere near their levels, they should win it. And I could see a scenario as well, like you saw how Cavan were, 8-9 points up with a couple of minutes to go. Like, if Tyrone build up a bit of a lead here, they could absolutely blow them away. Do you know what I mean? Like, what I would say is that if this is a tight game, Mayo probably win it, but otherwise I'd say Tyrone win it by 6 or 7.
Yeah, like, it's a really interesting one. Like, and there's that kind of school of thought as well, Aaron. Like, you play for McStay, and the players go out and put it all in for Mayo, and like, it's on the back of a very poor result against our good selves, Cavan. Like, and there's a lot on the line here. Like, and don't be surprised if you're listening on the radio or TV or wherever you might be watching. It may have Mayo like where to get the job done. And I think that's already our bet of the weekend for Mayo nearly to get the job done. But it's a really, really interesting one. But as you rightly said, Aaron, if Tyrone played at their levels, if they put in a similar performance like they did against Donegal, the game could be over. At half time, you could nearly say, like. But I think Mayo's a wounded animal. They're a dangerous team when they're a wounded animal. I think it's going to be very tight. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. And then obviously Malachy O'Rourke target another win, and then if another win puts you through to the preliminary quarterfinals, doesn't it? Like, so it's definitely very interesting. So we're looking forward to that this weekend. And again, we send on our best wishes to Kevin McStay. Hopefully a full recovery very soon. And then we'll move on to the next game. It's Roscommon against Meath in Dr. Hyde Park at 6 p.m. Aaron.
Yeah, it's a hard one to kind of judge. I think Roscommon being at home should have the advantage. Like, Meath obviously beat Roscommon earlier in the year, and that was a massive win. For Meath, kind of doing it 2 weeks in a row. Obviously, Roscommon have had the week break. They didn't, against Kerry when they were 7, 8, 9, 10 points down, and obviously they got a good couple of 2-pointers to kind of bring the score back to a bit more of a somewhat respectable scoreline. But I think they didn't look, they played to me as if they were preparing and thinking kind of further down the line, like subconsciously not putting in 100% against Kerry towards the end. It felt very, very comfortable for Kerry, and I think Roscommon knew the game was gone. And there has to be a bye here at Roscommon because they've been very inconsistent this year. I know they got promoted, but they scraped over the line. There has to be a response here. there has to be a performance as well, because they would have been, by all accounts at the start of the year, people would have had them ahead of this Meath team. If Meath can go to Roscommon and get a win, then that's a big, big statement. But I think it'll be an absolute cracker, to be honest with you. I think you look at the forwards, you look at the Murthas for Roscommon, Ben O'Carroll, and then with Meath, you've got Owen Frayne, Jordan Morris. Like, you've got some Matthew Costello, some phenomenal forwards on both teams. And to be honest with you, I think this could actually be a draw.
Yeah, that could be the first draw of the weekend, make no doubt about it. And then you've Down against Louth in Newry at 5:30. Very interesting one here. These guys would have played each other in the league. It's probably difficult. Yeah, it's a difficult one. Obviously, neither team are going to be winning an All-Ireland title, and Louth, after, they won't be happy with that performance last year. Down beating Clare, and home advantage are Down. So Conor Lafferty could be licking his lips at this one.
Yeah, I actually fancy Down to win this game, to be honest with you. Just because of how they completely blew Clare away. I think Louth did look a little bit leggy, I thought, against Monaghan. That does seem to be a bit of an over-reliance on goals. We saw that in the first of the Leinster final. And obviously Samuel Roy has been outstanding in regards to kind of popping up with big goals and everything else. Tommy Dernan's been brilliant as well. But I'd fancy Down to do it. I think with how strong and impressive they were against Clare, the home advantage, I think Down clearly would have, they would have known all year if this is what they're building towards. It's a massive opportunity as well to put 4 points on the board, and then you're effectively through and probably have a home game in a preliminary qualifier. So I fancy Down to pull off the upset here. I think they'll win it by 1 or 2.
Yeah, I think, Conor Lafferty will be targeting a win there, make no doubt about it. And then you have the old enemy of Cork against Kerry in Super Value Park Equive at 5:15. And of course, game will be live on GA Plus. Yeah, it's a tough one for Cork, this one, because a very disappointing result against Meath at the weekend, and Kerry will be looking to ramp up things now from here on in. I think Kerry will just be hell for leather, and this could be a big day for David Clifford and Paddy Clifford, Sean O'Shea, Paul Gainey. The list goes on, and it could be a long, long day at the office for Cork, and it'll probably just there's another school of thought where Cork could really put it up to them, but I think they played so badly against Meath at the weekend. Kerry could really stretch their legs here, Aaron. And look, Aaron, it's a short season. It's condensed. We're getting closer to the All-Ireland, kind of, I suppose, finals, semi-finals, once and forward. It's coming so quickly. And I think Kerry could really go to town on them here.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose when so often when Kerry have played Cork in the last couple of years, it's became a dogfight, and it's became the game that Cork have wanted rather than what Kerry have wanted. And Cork have really kind of dragged a lot out of Kerry. I think Kerry will be desperate not to have this be that type of game again, because they can't afford any injuries, or they'll still get out of this group even if they lose this game. But at the same time, they want to ensure that they win the group as well, because to not win it would be a bit of a travesty, in all honesty. So it's a hard one to know. I could see Cork putting it up to them, because it's what Cork do. Cork always raise their game for these matches, and you'll see some players step up who were a little bit poor the last day. And in fairness to Cork, I think Mark Cronin was impressive enough against Meath, and he's been one of their top performers this year. But I still think Kerry, whatever way this game goes, will still be far too strong. As you said previously, like when they played Cork the last day, Cork had the game of their life, and Kerry just managed to still be that little bit better. It's hard to see Cork raise those levels. Look, maybe it would have been in Park Equive and everything else. You could see them put in a big performance, but I still think Kerry overall with their quality should have way too much, and should win it, I'd say, by 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think so too. Even it could be 10 or more, and I just get that weird feeling about it. I think Kerry really want to stretch their legs in this one, especially after it being so close the last day. Paddy Clifford, losing the head, and you see the crack after the game, during the game, and I don't know. I think Kerry will be out for blood this weekend, and I think Cork are going to be on the receiving end of it. And then a Sunday's action in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship, round 2, Aaron. You've Dublin against Armagh in Croke Park at 4 p.m. And of course, the game will be live on RTE. So none of this GA Plus. It's going to be normal service resumed to a degree and accessible for everyone, thank God. Interesting game, Aaron. Obviously, we're looking at Dublin's back in the All-Ireland picture, and you'll be obviously glad to hear that and know that. Armagh, obviously coming up to Croke Park, very tricky place for them over the years. Obviously they've had a bit of success, but not as much as they want. Dublin, a very good win against Galway the last day. This has all the potential to be a mouth-watering game, Aaron.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm going to be at the game as well in Croke Park, so really looking forward to a first championship game for Dublin and Croke Park this year as well, which is kind of mental as well that it's against Armagh. But that's
I feel so sorry for you. I know.
It's poor Dubs. I mean, luckily, we just, it's not like we play in Croke Park every
95,
minute.
95% of the time. But anyway,
yeah. And if we get to the quarterfinals, we'll be playing every game in Croke Park from there as well. But yeah, no, it's a massive game. Look, it's, Dublin have been like they're such a strange team to follow at times. You think Dublin are done and dusted, and then Desi Farrell and the lads kind of rejuvenate. I feel like this Dublin team love being written off. It was the same in 2023 when everyone was writing us off, and then we beat Mayo, and we kind of just went on a great run after that and won the All Ireland. Whether the same happens this time, I'm not entirely sure. But we needed to step up versus Galway. Like, we needed to put in a performance, and we did, to be fair. McGuinness, Tom Lahiff, both outstanding. Obviously, Lahiff scoring the winner. Kieran Kilkenny, a bit of a throwback to Kilkenny in his prime as well. Like, he was absolutely brilliant. So it's a huge game, and it's I'm looking forward to it because we're going to see what Dublin are made of. We're going to see if Dublin can come through this game, win, draw. I think you have to put them down in the bracket then as serious contenders. It's Dublin have been so inconsistent all year. It's very hard to kind of say that they are a serious contender after beating Galway. It was obviously a huge win and everything else, but Galway probably did underperform ever so slightly. Not having Con O'Callaghan, who I think is going to be injured, is going to be a big blow.
I heard. I started to put in, but I heard this guy I know from Dalkey or around that area. Like, I think he was talking to Con's dad, and even Con won't tell his dad where his injury's at. So, like, I don't know. Do you know Con, Aaron, or do you know that family? But that's a crazy dynamic.
No.
Like, crazy dynamic.
No. You could be neighbours with a Dublin player. You still wouldn't know
what's going on.
Yeah. You wouldn't know. You never know. And maybe some people sometimes think they know and they hear something and they run with it, but it's not. It's you know what I mean. Very often the opposite happens. You know what I mean. But yeah, we won't know. And even when the team is announced, we probably won't know till throw-in. To be honest with you, that way. But yeah, like it's hard for us to see us win the game. I mean, I'll take positives around Armagh defensively, conceding a couple of those goals versus Derry. I think Cormac Costello could really have a big game. Sean Bugler maybe as well could really step up Kilkenny. In Croke Park as well, first game in Croke Park this year. Fans will be bang up for it. Players will be bang up for it. I think it'll be a very, very close game. It's very, very hard to judge, to be honest, because I think Armagh at their best do beat us, to be honest with you. I think they have the win of us in midfield. I think defensively as well, they're stronger. They're a lot stronger than our defense is. So I don't know. Like, my heart does say that Dublin can get it done and can win it. But the head says that Armagh, if Armagh are at their best, they win this game. I know I've already kind of used my draw card already, but maybe another draw here could be on the cards. But in all seriousness, though, I probably do think Armagh win it, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, and what a statement would be if Dublin were to get over the line against Armagh, especially after beating Galway. Like, it's probably the brass tacks of it is really, Aaron, like, obviously the great win against Galway the last day, but like, Dublin fans, you know them better than me. Like, if they don't back up a performance like they did against Galway, bring that into this weekend, there probably will be disappointment amongst Dublin supporters. But look, that's going to be a serious game this weekend. Really looking forward to it now, and it's great to see it's live on RTE. None of this, I suppose, streaming or nonsense service. It's great for everyone to get a chance to watch that game. I think everyone deserves a chance to watch that game. So looking forward to it. And then you have Monaghan against Clare in Clonus at 4 p.m. I think, Aaron, one of the more predictable games of the weekend. Clonus, I think Clonus, difficult place for most teams to go. Clare, very poor against Down the last day. I can just see Monaghan not going to town on Clare, but I can just see it being comfortable for Monaghan.
Yeah, it's hard to know, like, especially when Down put up that kind of score versus Clare. Like, I think if Monaghan are fully at it, they could win this by 10, 15 points potentially. I'll be no kind of surprises there. Maybe there might be a slight drop from Monaghan with Down obviously coming up and maybe a bit more of a focus, knowing that they don't have to be at their best necessarily here. But yeah, you couldn't see anything other than a comfortable, 8, 9, maybe 10-point win for Monaghan. Like for Clare, it's an awkward one. Like, it's not their fault. They keep ended up in the All-Ireland Championship. It's just the structure of whatever way it's done. But it's not doing them any benefits. Like, I think they've, across the last 3 years, I think this is their 8th championship game, and they haven't won any of them. They've been battered in the majority of them as well. So hopefully they can sort that out next year, because it's not good for Clare football as well. Like, if they were in the Tailteann Cup, they'd be in games that they can win, they can progress and actually move forward. But being in this every year, it just isn't helping them at all.
Yeah, no, correct. And what you say, but I think I was annoyed by a headline I seen on Twitter. I don't know, did you see it, Aaron? I think someone said, like, Clare going backwards with Peter Keane after that result against Down. Like, and I think it was some reporter, and like, I'll not name names, and like, I'm not trying to go at anyone here, but really frustrating kind of comments saying that Peter Keane's taking them backwards when Clare had a good league campaign. We know about Peter Keane's track record. He had great, I suppose, times of Kerry football and brought them to brilliant places. So I just think this sort of agenda, reporters can have on managers and going at them, and I think Peter Keane, in fairness to him, he stood his ground. He had some particular, we'll not maybe repeat the variables, but I just think this bullshit of, I know, look, they might not get the win this weekend, so on and so forth, but this crack of, taking them backwards in a hurling dominated county, I'm not buying that, Aaron.
No. I wouldn't agree with that either. Like, they were very close to promotion and everything else, and they've obviously, I know they lost a good few players last year. They've kind of got them back this year, but it's kind of been changes within managers, personnel, backroom teams. So it's obviously been a huge adjustment since Colm Collins has left. So I would agree with that as well. Like, it's not their fault they've ended up in here. It's just the structure of the Munster Championship, and they're playing a very good downside. The game was probably a lot more one-sided than people thought. And look, I mean, it'd be very tough for them to get anything this weekend or even against Louth. But it's probably a little bit overstated to say that they are going backwards. I definitely wouldn't agree with that anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will move on to the other action over the weekend. You have Derry against Galway in Celtic Park at 2 p.m. Of course, the game will be live on GA Plus. That is a really tricky one for Galway to be heading up there. And obviously, like, we're talking about all Ireland contenders, and Porkjoy's been really, I suppose, pissed off. To a bit of a echo there. But he was really annoyed, obviously, the last year against Dublin, and you could see the frustration in his eyes in the interview after. Like, he'll be hoping for a huge performance against a Derry team to put in a massive performance against Armagh. So that's going to be another great game at the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. It will be. It'll be huge for huge for both of them. Obviously, after losing on the opening weekend, whoever loses this could be in massive trouble going into the final game. I think the pressure is absolutely on Galway. They've obviously had the better record against Derry in recent years, and it'll be interesting to see if they can kind of bounce back. Like, Walsh, definitely by all accounts, was a little bit off the pace, it must be said, versus Dublin. So it's a huge game for Galway, especially, a lot of people's All-Ireland favourites, and it was a bit of a surprise defeat. It will be tough going away to Derry, though, especially, like, it is the age-old thing for Derry. They play well in a lot of these games, but they don't win them. I think Galway should still have enough here. I think, especially with Paul Conroy, Matthew Tierney, we'll see what the crack is with Comer. I think Galway will need a response, especially after Joyce's comments as well post-match. Like, these lads are going to be absolutely, chomping at the bit here. So I think they will come through probably 3 or 4 points, maybe, is what I'll go for there.
Yeah, it's a really interesting game this weekend, and obviously all the talk with Galway throughout the league. Did a really good league campaign, and the exciting football that they played. So, though, that's going to be a really good game to look forward to this weekend. Of course, the game will be on GA Plus, so a lot of people will be tuning in for that one. And then last game off the weekend, Aaron, it's my own County Cavan against Donegal in Kingspan Breffni Park at 2 p.m. Probably should be on GA Plus as well. Now, in fairness, geez, it definitely warrants it, but really interesting one. This one, the last day out against Mayo, a great win. Donegal will not be happy this week after getting bet by Tyrone. We have to try and make Breffni Park a fortress at the weekend. Jesus Christ. We're going to have to pull out all the stops against this phenomenal Donegal team. But look, we're up against it. I said it to what fair. Don't be surprised if we put in a performance. Will it be a performance good enough to win the game? I'm not sure. Donegal a bit of a wounded animal after Saturday. But look, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, absolutely. A huge game for Cavan. Definitely feels like a bit of a free hit in some ways. I think even if you lose this game, it's not necessarily the end of the world. I think the one thing you just wouldn't want is to get, be on the receiving end of a hiding or something like that. And kind of be on the receiving end of a bat run. But I think you'd be surprised to kind of see that happen, considering how well Cavan obviously played against Mayo. Paddy Lynch obviously back now as well. Be interesting to see if he starts. Keane Madden very good as well. I thought the last day. Cormac O'Reilly as well. So yeah, some very good footballers within Cavan. And look, the pressure will be on Donegal because after them losing to Tyrone, it's a big game for them to kind of to step up and turn around. You would imagine that they would. It's a game they have to win. It's a game that they need to win. I think you'd nearly rather Donegal having won against Tyrone because maybe they might have took their foot off the gas a little bit, and maybe Cavan could have caught a surprise. But I still would back Donegal, I think, to come through, but I don't think it would be a formality. I don't think it would be like really comfortable or anything like that. And I think Cavan will definitely have their moments. I suppose with Cavan, like there is some. You can be a bit inconsistent at times, though, as well. Like the performance against Tyrone wasn't particularly brilliant. And then you obviously go out and do what you did against Mayo. So it's hard to know really what you'll get with Cavan. I think Donegal probably should have too much.
Yeah, I know. Look, and let's not be joking about it. Like Donegal are all Ireland contenders. Cavan aren't. Donegal will have a lot of hurt this weekend after getting bet by Tyrone. But I just get this feeling it'll be. I think even in the league last year, obviously league football compared to championship football, I think Donegal only bet by a point in the league last year. So look, I think it'll be. I think Donegal will be sore, but I think they'll definitely put in a lot of work this week. And they'll, you talk about Paddy Lynch there. I think Paddy he could be double mark, triple mark potentially this weekend. And it'll be interesting to see the kind of performance that you are after saying the likes of Keane Madden, Cormac Riley, Oisin Kernan, all had great games last year. Kieran the Holla Brady obviously getting paired a week last week, and fair play to him. He had a great day the last day. But look, it's a huge ask for Cavan. It'll show them, I suppose it'll show Cavan supporters, Ray Galligan, his backroom team, where exactly Cavan are at. It'll show us where, if Donegal, if they are all Ireland contenders, how much, they could potentially be Cavan by. But no, look, I think it's going to be a good one. I'm not sure about the fitness of Garode McKernan and James Smith. Obviously, you need them pair of lads for this weekend. If you had them pair of lads, who knows? We could wait and see. But I think Garode could be out for a couple of weeks. I haven't heard much. Yourself with these camps, like the Dublin setup, you don't hear much. But look, I think it will be a good game of football. I can't see it being negative. I think it'll definitely be open. Kingsmore Breffni kind of plays for that kind of. It's a forward stream really. But I think Aaron, if Donegal are to win in All Ireland this year, and the clock is probably ticking for a lot of them players, realistically, they need to put in a huge performance this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. They need to win this game. If they don't win this game, then there's, there'll be massive question marks really. Especially with Mayo to go on the final game as well. Like you'd fancy them to beat Mayo, but certainly won't be a formality in a neutral venue as well. And if Mayo have something to play for, that's always a dangerous game. So no, absolutely, they have to respond. And look, to be fair, I think if they produce, they weren't awful or terrible against Tyrone, that way. Like they were just a little bit % off of the levels that we saw versus Armagh. If they play even to the same ability that they did versus Tyrone in this game, I still think they'll come through it. But there does need to be, like, without question, they have to win it, and they will need to see more from Oisin Gallen, Kieran Thompson, Dara O'Boyle, like these lads, than the last day. Obviously can't rely on Michael Murphy and Michael Langan, like they did the last day. So, they have to win, and there's no question about that.
Yeah, and I think even from Ray Gallagher's point of view, Stephen Real, James Burke, from a matchup point of view, and you're after naming some incredible footballers there, like the likes of Mio Langan, Kieran Thompson, McBride, Michael Murphy. What you do with Ryan McHugh? Is Sean Patton going to be fit? I tell you what, Aaron, I would not like to be Ray Galligan. You either love these matchups or it's going to give you headaches all week. Like how you get any work done this week, it'll be just mad. But I think a big Cavan crowd is expected, I think, up around 20,000. So obviously, let's hope the blue and white jerseys come out and support the lads. But look, I think you're going with Donegal.
Yeah, I think so. I'll go with Donegal by about 4. I think they'll be too strong. They could win it by more. I wouldn't be surprised if they did win it very comfortably. Yeah, I think they should have too much overall. I think it will be some ask for Cavan to put in back-to-back performances. And look, if Cavan do go and beat Donegal, then it just blows this group wide open, and all of a sudden, Jesus, Cavan could win this group. Like, do you know what I mean?
We could win the All Ireland. We could win the All Ireland.
If you do go and win this game, then Jesus, to be. I don't know. There won't be a point drink, a point paid for in Cavan.
You're even getting into the fucking Cavan jokes as well. Jesus Christ, Aaron, you're really coming at us. But look, it's going to be a great weekend. And look, Aaron, it's a bank holiday weekend. That game's 2:00. My Jesus Christ! If we win, the better half will not see. If we win, the better half will not see me for a week. And in fairness, Aaron, if we do somehow manage to win, it'll be a catch-up after winning Ulster 2020. We didn't. No one could do anything. So stranger things have happened. 5 years on. 5-year anniversary. Yeah. Aaron Prendergast, after all that, who is your players to watch this weekend and your bet of the weekend? Of course, gamble responsibly.
Oh, yeah, tough one there. Player of the week. I think looking at it from a Dublin perspective, I think Kieran Kilkenny, I think, if he's on it, he could be absolutely crucial. Especially going up against a very star-studded Armagh defence. So maybe I'd kind of lean towards him. In terms of bet of the week, I think I went with Down to beat Loud. Maybe Down might be slight underdogs there. So that kind of could be a good one. Trying to think what else. I think, Meath could absolutely beat Roscommon. I could absolutely see that. And I think I went with a draw there. So I think that's a good outside bet, to be fair.
I'll go with it. I'll go Mayo to beat Tyrone. And I'll go with player to watch. I'll just go with Paddy Lynch. If he does start against Donegal, he did a great game against him in 2022. So look, he'll need to be at it this weekend. And I don't know, was he fully fit, but he's back on the pitch. So let's just see what Paddy has to offer this weekend. We'll wait and see. But look at Aaron, really look forward to the action this weekend. Aaron Prendergast from Gaelic Games Fan TV. Where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. On YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. If you just search Gaelic Games Fan TV, you should be able to find me. And yeah, if anyone can subscribe or come along for the ride, that would be greatly appreciated.
I was going to say, what pub can people find you in at the weekend? Where are you boozing these days?
Who knows? You won't find me. I'll be in multiple different pubs. You know what I mean? I'm just like moving around, left, right, and centre. Usually the Bridge Tavern.
Oh yes, I heard all about
that. That'd be kind of the good one.
You play there Sunday, Saturday.
Sunday, yeah, for Dublin Armagh game. No, I don't think a few of the lads aren't drinking, so I don't know if I might lay off the beer maybe for the weekend. Since I'll be on Meath Hod there, but look, we'll see. It's famous last words. I've seen lads say that before, and then you go in there and they're already half cut. So we'll see what happens once it comes to Sunday.
Oh God, absolutely. And you had a really bad weekend as well. Liverpool won the league, so we'll not talk about that. So we'll just
slide over that one very, very calmly there. Move on.
No comment. My God, my eyes are hurting. Some scenes over there at the minute. Christ bless. I think a car got into a bit of butter. We'll not say no more about that. I must send you that video if you haven't seen it. Aaron Prendergast, thanks a million. That was brilliant. Great to catch up. Thank you very much.